getting a lot of great players. If a guy, need to get a little help education wise, or he's a player that needs to develop, those kind of things. The transfer portal has changed a lot of those kind of things. Talk a little bit about, kind of how the JUCO world's been evolving.
I think it's the most obvious thing is, now it's a lot easier for kids to get, eligible to play as opposed to like it was back in the day. Also, like you said, the most obvious thing is also the transfer portal, where you used to would be able to get the trickle down effect. As soon as a kid wasn't eligible or something happened at another school, JUCO was the first thing that they went to. But now with the transfer portal, you don't quite get those, DJ Jones and those type of kids anymore at the East Mississippi. But you still, like I said, it's still a great quality brand of football. But I think the biggest change has been obviously the kids can get eligible a lot easier now, and also the obvious with the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's a huge impact, and it's impacted obviously high school tremendously too, in a similar fashion, in the sense that things kind of trickle down, and players transfer laterally, which could affect players that might come out, as well as transferring down. Talk about what kind of players you're now trying to get to JUCO who are the best fit for what you guys do.
With us I think one thing that helped us out a little bit though is going from having the 8 out-of-staters to the 15 out-of-staters. I think that kind of helped out in some senses. In some senses, especially when you're trying to compete on a national level. Right. I think it helped out in a major way. With some of the schools having virtually unlimited out-of-staters, and so they can pretty much go cherry pick from wherever they want to. But the quality of players, to answer the question directly, that we're looking for is that we're trying to compete for a national championship each and every year. So we're trying to get the best available 4-star kid that may have a grade issue or something like that, or the best available 3-star kid, or the best available kid that could come in and help us win a championship. So that's still the thing, and the brand that we're looking for is the best player that can come in and help us win a national championship.
Now, Coach, is the out-of-state player issue, is that an East Coast only type of thing? Because some other schools can get anybody from everywhere. Is that like the conference you guys play, or who determines whether or not you're allowed to have a certain number of out-of-state players?
Well, that's our MAC conference. That's one of our rules that's implemented by that.
Got it. Makes sense. I mean, yeah, because it's like, and look, it's just, and like, it's the same with, roster limits in Division III, right? Like certain conferences, you can only have a certain number of guys on your roster at the start of the season, whereas others can have unlimited. So that kind of puts you in somewhat of a bind. What's the benefit of being in an actual, JUCO conference in regards to some of these other schools that can go and get other guys? Is it a scheduling thing?
I think it's kind of what it boils down to is when you're trying to compete for a national championship at a national level. I think the benefits of being in the conference, especially one like the MAC, in Mississippi, the Mississippi Junior College ranking, which in my opinion is one of the toughest conferences. And we joke around and say it's the SEC of JUCO, and because year in and year out, you're gonna have some of your better teams that's gonna represent on a national level. And so I think the benefits of having a conference like that, it shows people when the committee starts to pick the top 4 teams at the end of the year, like, hey, these guys are playing quality people week in and week out. It's not that they're in this independent conference and they're playing somebody that's not as challenging, but each week they're playing somebody in their conference that could beat you at any week. And it's, like I said, it's very talented teams.
And that conference traditionally had sent so many players to the SEC and obviously a ton of players to the Mississippi schools throughout the years. And that's been one of the huge benefits of that JUCO system. And you guys also have scholarships too as well, right? So that's one of the things that it makes it unique. Are you guys able to give scholarships at the JUCO level there?
Yeah, correct. We are.
And so
that's huge, because most JUCO ain't doing that. You know what I mean?
California system is like, I think, financial aid only, right? And that's what makes the Mississippi system different than places like the California system, where you have to go off of only financial aid, and here you get athletic scholarships.
Right. And obviously more of an appeal for guys, right? Because most of these guys, that's a huge piece of that puzzle. And now all of a sudden, hey, I can still go to a JUCO and get a scholarship. Whereas most of these guys, someone's got to front that bill, even if it's 1-2 years, right? I mean, you're still paying money out of your pocket. And a lot of the players, or the better players, they just don't have that. And that's not part of it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I have friends, like I've never coached in the California League, so I can't really speak in details on exactly what it's like. But, I do have friends that play ball with me at Southern Miss that coach out in the junior college rankings out in California. And I know some of those schools out there don't have the ability to fully fund kids, like I said, year in and year out.
And that's a totally unique thing. I think the Kansas system probably also does that right as well, similar to what the Mississippi system.
It's definitely not the norm, I'll tell you that much.
No, yeah, I think Kansas might. That's why a lot of those the Mississippi system and the Kansas system traditionally have had, like, you've seen the type of players that have come out of there are just unbelievable, and it's because of the ability to fund them. Obviously, always the most difficult thing with JUCO is a lot of JUCOs are in small towns, right? And they're the biggest thing. They're the biggest thing in their small town, just like in
they're the draw,
right? So that's always probably, from a recruiting standpoint, the biggest thing that you guys always have to do, because of it's not as big a college campus as if they go to Mississippi, Ole Miss, or Mississippi State, or any other big SEC school. So that's one of the things that a lot of those athletes have to get used to. Talk about the things that you have to do as a defensive coordinator, that go on above what you have to do from a defensive job standpoint. Some of the other roles and hats that you have to wear as a JUCO coach to really help your players.
It's real similar to being a high school coach in a lot of ways. I think that you get the best of both worlds coaching in the JUCO ring. You get the ability to do a lot of things that the college football ring allows you to do, but you also have a lot of similarities that tie back to high school, because you don't have the support staff. So you still gonna have to take kids to the store and buy them stuff to eat and things of that nature. You're still gonna have to be there and provide for them, because you don't have, like I said, the support staff that may have a player development. They may help them when they're going through stuff or whatever. You have to play that role. Also, being a junior college coach, you have to do the equipment. You have to do, if you have grass, you have to cut the grass. You have to line the grass. You still have to do all the grunt work that a lot of coaches just don't want to do, in college football. So those are some of the things.
And it's, Coach, it's something that we see, right? And Dave and I discuss this all the time in terms of, and not to be the old guy, right? But back in the day, you saw a lot of younger coaches, like, they had to go through all of that to work their way up to get that position coach title or that coordinator title. You see a lot of younger coaches now, they come into this and they think, oh, I should be calling plays, like, right away. And it's like, man, like, you've never separated jerseys. You've never fixed a helmet, right? Like, you've never had to bring your own stuff out to practice for what you want to use. All of that, draw cards, right? The thousands of things that go on off the field that have to be in line in order to be successful, or put your guys in that position to be successful. A lot of the younger guys aren't willing to do that. And I think in the JUCO ranks, like you said, you have to do that. And if you don't, you're not going to be very successful.
And I think, you can even go off a venture a little farther, in any level, when it comes to being successful in this coaching industry, you have to have a strong foundation of a work ethic, because if you don't have a strong foundation of a work ethic, it's not going to last. It's kind of like the big bad wolf. It's going to come tumbling down sooner or later. That's and a lot of young coaches, I'm fairly young. A lot of people refer to me as a young coach myself. But a lot of young coaches, that's what they want to do. They want to be, this new modern camera in your face type coach. They want to have the shades on, the Ray-Bans and whatever glasses on, and they want to be cool, and they don't want to put the work in that what comes to being a successful coach. You know, a lot of things, they just sacrifices come with coaches, just like anything else in life that comes with great sacrifices come with it. And if you're not willing to sacrifice in this coaching industry, then you're not going to be able to make it very far, you know. Because
not many of them have ever, slept in the office, right? Like they ain't doing that. That's not part of their gig. They sign up for what it is or what they think it is, and then when it really comes down to it, hey, you want to be successful? Like, you have to do all of these little things that go very much unnoticed in terms of, to get your guys on point. And I just don't think that's how they're structured anymore. They think that, I should just come out. Oh, I played the game, so now I can be able to coach the game. And a lot of times that's really not the case. We see a lot of guys that were really good players, but that can't articulate or explain or ultimately teach the game to where guys understand it on a level to be successful.
Yeah. And like I said, I think it goes back to the inability to be hungry and eager to learn. I think you have to have that ability. And I think that's what separated me from a lot of coaches. I was just actually talking to a good friend of mine who's the co-DC at the University of Arkansas yesterday. Actually, last night I was talking to him about, kind of my journey and how I got to where I'm at. I was one of those guys that, after college, I didn't have a lot of connections, but I knew what I wanted to do in this college football realm of things. And I wanted to be, a college defensive coordinator. So, obviously some of the things that I did, a lot of young coaches wouldn't do. Like early on, I couldn't afford, the ability to go out and network with these coaches. I didn't have the players that'll get me in these coaches' office. So what I would have to do is I'd have to Airbnb and stay in the cheapest Airbnb, sleep. I remember one time when I went to University of Florida and I stayed with Todd. I went to visit Todd Grantham for a week. I slept in an Airbnb house for a week with a guy that I didn't even know. It could have been a complete serial killer for all I know. But it was a
listen, there'll be a Netflix documentary about him in 2 years, buddy. And you'll be like, damn, I saw that dude was in your room. Like, shit, you got what you needed, so you're good.
Yeah, I was at that guy's house, but the sacrifice that came with it, I was eager to learn. And I was like, hey, look, no excuses. I got to learn how to be a college coach. And the only way you're going to do that is to put yourself in the realm and the circle of people that are doing great things. So that was part of the sacrifice that I had to make. I had to do that often. I had to go stay in Airbnbs where I pay $30-$40 a night, and sleep next in a room with a person that I don't know who they are, but it was the cheapest thing for me, and like I said, and it paid off for me because I was able to learn how to organize and how to be structured and how to talk the language that a lot of these Division I college coaches won't.
Right. I think that's a big part of it. And then you obviously articulate and coaching your players and be able to, relate to what they're going through. And in JUCO, you probably have to do that more than any other coach, just because it's a gap stop for a lot of players, and ultimately for them that's not what their end destination is, but it's an in-between destination for most players, and so it's an important, really, really important role when players come to you to help get them to the next thing. It's the one coaching job where every coach knows that their player's goal is to go to another place, right? In high school, sometimes kids play just to play for high school. You know what I mean? They're done after high school. There are kids that want to play in college. There are different kind of goals. Obviously, college guys are 4-year guys are already there. Talk about how you have to go about really understanding each and every player and how to get the most out of them to help them understand where they got to go for their future.
I think that the ability to connect with kids is very important. And I think that's what separates me from a lot of coaches. I had a good friend of mine, Thomas Brown, who's currently with the Chicago Bears. He said a statement about 4 years ago when I met him. He said, coaching is what I do, is not who I am. And that stuck with me. So I think if you take that approach, and don't walk around like that's my job or whatever, even though we all know that's your job, that if you don't win or lose, that can put you at a place that you don't want to be in. But at the end of the day, we're dealing with people. And if you don't make people feel appreciated and they're not going, and that you can connect with them, they're not going to play hard for you. So I think it's about building that personal relationship with each and every one of your kids. And I think that allows you to understand them. Like naturally, if I connect with you, I sit down with you and, hey, how your day going? Every time you see me, it shouldn't be, hey, why you bust in this Rip Liz match concept, or why you whatever. When it comes to always with football, I think that allows you to, number one, connect with your players, and number two, they're gonna want to play for you and give you their all, because you're gonna show them that you actually care. So I think that's what separates me again, like from a lot of coaches, that my ability to connect with the kids.
And building off that, when they're going to go off to college and you're starting to help them from a recruiting standpoint, what kind of system do you guys have in place to really get their name out there? Because ultimately, right, when they JUCO players, almost all of them are coming there to obviously go to another destination. What do you guys have in place from a structure standpoint to try and get them out there once they get there and do the job?
I think without outbounding recruiting, the biggest thing is that relationships that we all have with other coaches is out there. And I think so a lot of us, we just get on your social media, you get on your Twitters, and you have the kids create their highlights, and you just send the highlights out to kids. And I think that the biggest thing is the highlights going to speak for yourself. So once you get it out there, just put it in front of coaches' eyes for they can see, then, hey, that's what's going to bring your scholarships and all that type of stuff, because I tell kids all the time that, hey, look, I can be one of your best agents, but if you don't give me a product to sell, I can't help you. So what you put on film is your resume. That's a representation of who you are. You can get on social media, you can get on Twitter, you can get on Snapchat, TikTok, and all these things and say, I'm out here grinding, or whatever you may say. Yeah. But if you're not putting it on the film, then you're not going to be able to get yourself recruited to these high levels.
There's no doubt about it, and ultimately that's the goal. Now, from like, I don't know exactly how JUCO handles like the spring recruiting period. Do you guys have workouts for them, or is it spring ball that basically they come and watch your guys work out? How does that work from that standpoint?
So spring ball is very unique in junior college, and you have to be real creative, and you have to be real. Have a sense of urgency when it comes to recruiting, because you have to think about it like this: you lose half your team every year at Christmas time. So
right.
you have a 60-65 man roster. You're losing half of those guys at Christmas time every year. So sometimes if you don't have a plan in place, then you can go into spring ball sometime with not even enough defensive linemen, not enough offensive linemen.
Right. Right. So that's got to be extremely challenging, right? Because especially to be so regimented in terms of, hey, these guys are coming in for the spring. Here's how we're going to have to structure things in terms of helping the team, whatnot. And then, I mean, now it's like, hey, okay, we went through spring, but now we're looking towards, August or the season. That roster is kind of constantly evolving in terms of that. If you're not structured, I mean, hell, like you said, you might not have enough dudes to even do spring ball.
Exactly. So we kind of how we stay on it from a defense perspective. We always know, hey, look, at Christmas time, hey, we losing this many guys, so we need to bring in this many bodies to possibly redshirt or be a walk-on, however that may look. But we got to be able to have some depth when it comes to spring ball. So you kind of always know. So you kind of keep your organizational chart and say, hey, look, we're losing this many people at Christmas now, so we got to have this many people to replace the D linemen, linebackers, or even the DBs.
No doubt. And then from an implementation standpoint, so when you go about implementing your defense, kind of what is your process, since you have so many players that are coming for the most part, at least half your roster probably new in the fall when they come in there for camp. How do you go about that process, and do you bring them in early in the summer and start implementing things? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of at East Mississippi have our kids go both terms. So they go some one term and some 2 term. So again, early on, you're able to have, your walkthroughs and stuff like that to start to install your defense and things of that nature.
Interesting.
And also get them acclimated to the academic process, right? Too.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, going to class and doing, look, you got summer here where it's only, now JUCO in terms of, people on campus is also different than another college as well. You have a lot of commuter students, or you have a lot of, hey, I'm taking one type of classes, or, that college environment is very different in terms of like, hey, this football guys, like you're going to be here, you're going to be doing the same type of things. But and you've seen it as a trend in higher level college football, right? Where a lot of these guys want to graduate in December or January so they can get on campus for spring ball and get those 16 practices, especially if you're a quarterback, to kind of grasp that. But I think what a lot of people overlook is that social aspect of being away from home or having to do your laundry, those types of things, going to class. Like nobody's there to wake you up anymore, buddy, even though, coach, you may have to do that from time to time and bang on those doors and get them to class. But I think that's the part that gets overlooked, is just getting acclimated to what it's like being on your own, being responsible to get up, go to class, and handle a schedule. And then ultimately the academic side of it with the classes itself. That's summer 1, that's summer 2, shit, even sometimes that summer 3 can get you like on the right path, so that when it does hit in September or late August, now you're good to go.
Absolutely.
As far as what you guys run defensively, so talk about what you guys run and kind of what your philosophy is from a defensive standpoint.
My philosophy, I want to be aggressive. I want to be around the 47% on your first and second downs of bringing pressure. I want to be aggressive. And that's all about creating a mentality for the kids to have the attacking mindset. They want to create TFLs and tackle for losses and stuff like that. So, that's the first part of it. Kind of our brand is we want to play fast, physical, and aggressive. And after that, we want to be multiple in what we do, because I think that if you stagnant and you stay in one scheme, what is staying in 4 down or 3 down and 1 high or 2 high, I think if you just live in one of those in this day and time, offensive coordinators are very intelligent and very smart. And every play that they draw up is a touchdown. So, you have to be multiple in what you do. So, I think we're multiple. I think our base would be 4-2-5 structure. But at the end of the day, we're multiple in what we do. We have the ability to get in the 3 down front if we want to. We have the ability to get in some bar front if we want to, 1 high, 2 high. So we multiple in what we do.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that's kind of how a lot of defenses go nowadays, which also puts your kids in a great situation. No matter so. Whatever school they're going to end up going to, now they've been in these different defenses, and hey, this might be our base, but a lot of colleges now and pro guys, like it's all multiple, right? Like, because you're kind of matching up with what the offense does, just to be in different defensive sets. Like, rarely now do we talk to defensive coordinators and they say, oh, we're a 4-3, oh, we're a 3-4, right? Like that might be the initial, but ultimately you're going to scheme it to what the offense does and the best way to stop it. And ultimately, like what type of players you have. How much does that impact, Coach, what you do defensively is obviously the players that you have within your, at East Mississippi?
I have a saying that it's always players, not plays. Big people beat up little people. So, if you.
I like that. As a little guy, shit, man. I'm always at the bottom end of it. God damn. But I like that.
But, so players definitely make everything, that much better. We all know that. Yeah. So we obviously want to go out and get the best at each position. And sometimes you just don't, at junior college, you're not able to get the best guy at that position. And if you don't, you got to accommodate that guy by having him, do the things that he plays best. So as a coach, sometimes you have to have the ability to adapt to play into the player's strength. 1 year you may have a guy at a certain position. If it's talking defensively, defensive back play, you may have a nickel guy that can cover real good. So you feel comfortable putting him in man coverage. Then you may have the next year a guy that's not as great of a cover. So you want to blitz him a little bit more if that's his strength. So you have to play to the strengths of your kid. But in all, the kids are what makes the thing go.
No, there's no doubt about it. It's always the Jimmys and the Joes.
Jimmys and Joes, baby. Jimmys and Joes.
There's no doubt. Well, the second guys forget that is the second they're going to start losing.
Yeah, absolutely.
because they believe that they're the genius that invented football.
Yep.
That's always
my system. It's my system. We got to run this system, buddy. Like, it's nice when you got that guy out there that can lock that entire side of the field down, and we can work over here. I mean, and I think a lot of high school coaches really don't understand that, because when you have a good player, and you can recognize that some of these guys, even in high school, are already special to play to their strengths. Stop being so stubborn and bull-minded in terms of it's the system. We can just plug and play. Man, play to your players' strengths, adapt to what they do well, continue to develop across the board, but put guys in the right positions and then utilize those guys. It's frustrating at the high school level that more guys don't understand that.
Yeah, and I think because you get so used to hearing coaches say my system, my scheme, or whatever, and I think it's very important to have a specific system and scheme because that gives you structure and idea of what you want to do from a coach's standpoint of things. But like we're alluding to with the story that we're telling here, that sometimes some kids are just not going to be able to do what that X that you had in that position doing. They're just not going to be able to do that some years. And so as a coach, I think you have to, that goes back to that professional development side of it. You have to go out and you have to expand your mind as a coach. So you have the ability. And so that's what happens a lot of times. Coaches just don't have the ability to, to do anything different. So they kind of do what they do. And then when they don't happen or the kid doesn't produce a certain way, they want to, the kid just not smart enough. The kid's smart enough. These kids can play and learn Fortnite and all these type of stuff, everything to come with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if they can learn that, they can learn, the scheme. So sometimes you just may have to accommodate that kid, to get him to do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, you just have to adapt as coach sometimes.
No doubt, Coach. I'm curious too. Is with everything with NIL, do you guys have any things where you guys have to deal with either, I don't know, your own players that are getting? I'm sure here and there obviously you have guys going to big time places, and do you also have to deal with like agents or anything like that come in and talk to your players or try to talk to your players? How is that kind of dealt with right now where you guys are at?
We don't have so much of the agents per se that's dealing with junior college kids. We don't really deal with that. But what we have a lot of dealings with is you have a lot of these companies now, recruiting companies that are coming in and dealing with kids. And so I always tell our kids, you have to be leery and mindful that some guys are just trying to make money. You get what I'm saying? And they're trying to get their brand going. So they're trying to attach you and saying, hey, I can do this. And I'm not in this sentence trying to knock what those guys do, but those are some of the things that are happening. So we don't, like I said, we don't deal much with the agency part of it. We deal more of those recruiting agency from that perspective of it, of dealing with kids. And NIL deal, I can see it trickling down to the junior college ranking within the next couple of years.
Right. Yeah, I figured eventually that's probably going to become a thing. It may not have gotten to
where it's going.
And I don't know what the state laws are either. I guess state laws in every state are different too. I think that's a big part of it. Probably. I don't know if Mississippi it's allowed at the JUCO or high school level. I'm not sure. But like I know there's like Texas still doesn't allow NIL deals for the high school level. So, but eventually, I'm sure it'll be everywhere eventually. So,
absolutely,
there's no doubt about it. What about like, so you guys, because you're part of the Mississippi community college system, which is part of the obviously overall Mississippi State system. Are you encouraged to build relationships with the Division I schools that you guys have, like Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Jackson State and those kind of schools?
Absolutely. And I think that at every one of those schools that you name, and I like I said, I'm from Mississippi. I take pride in being from Mississippi, and being connected with our coaches at every level, whether it's the high school level or whether it's at the Division I level, Division II level, Division III level. I think that's very important for his relationship and professional development in this profession. But I have a great relationship with all of those guys, and it helps with recruiting as well. When we talk about outbound and recruiting, getting our kids recruiting, I think that helps out with those relationships. And they want, and those Division I coaches and Division II coaches, they want to have a relationship with us as well too, because they want to come in and have the ability to recruit our players.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's interesting because originally the Last Chance U stuff brought a lot of attention to JUCO programs. And then it got like Coach JB took it to a different level where
absolutely
and
JB.
Yeah, he's
wild. I mean, look, Buddy was the originator. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have kind of like pushed him aside. Because Coach JB kind of came in like full fisted, ready to go, AK out, firing on all cylinders. But I mean, Coach Buddy was he did his part as well.
Yeah, he was the first one.
He was the originator of that.
Actually, that's the one I never really watched much of JB season, and I watched the very first season.
Yeah,
that was what I watched, and that was really because I was fascinated. I was fascinated because obviously, as a guy that's been around football for a long time, and I've run camps all over the country, including Mississippi, and I was fascinated by learning about the JUCO system because. Like I have friends, the guys who coach at Lackawanna Junior College out where I'm in New Jersey. They're out in PA. I know those guys pretty well because I've they've worked a couple All-Star games I've run and stuff. But I really didn't know that much. Like I really didn't know that much about the system, even as a high school coach. I played Division I football. I didn't know that much about it, and I had a lot of friends that played at JUCO, and that was the first time you really saw. What the different things like. I never realized that you guys wore so many hats, like you said, similar to a high school coach does. Absolutely. I never realized that because people always assumed that. I'm sure people have assumed this of you guys. You guys are college coaches that you don't have to do all those kind of things, and they don't realize that not just JUCO coaches, but a lot of Division III coaches too have to do other roles as well beyond just coaching, right? So. That was really an eye-opener, and also how important the JUCO system was to these kids coming and looking for that opportunity, right? And how like being able to get that through to them and help them understand, like, you have to be able to make it here. You have to be able to make it and do the job here because there isn't high school that you go back to, right? There isn't. You do 2 years here. It's not like you'll be able to go to another JUCO. You have to be able to do the job here. Otherwise, this is the end road for your football career. If you don't want this to be the end road for your football career, you have to be able to do the job. Is that fairly accurate? What I'm talking about from that standpoint?
Absolutely. And I think that's where the name Last Chance U came from, because it's obviously the kids, your last chance. You had high school and now you're at junior college. So if you don't make it, it's the obvious, now it's your last chance. So that's why a lot of coaches, when they come get kids out of the junior college rankings, especially in Mississippi, those kids are a lot hungry because they want to prove themselves. And that's all they got is football. It's kind of, their way out. That's kind of what they look up to as to being, hey, my quote unquote way of making it and providing for myself and for my family. So those are the type of kids that you're going to get coming out of our rankings, kids that are very eager and hungry to be successful in the football realm of things.
It's very interesting, and what you do is very, very important, and it's important to me that like the JUCO system continues to get the light shed on it because of what you guys do, and not allow just the transfer portal to kind of jump over those processes like it's doing somewhat to you guys a little bit now. Obviously doing the high school in a way. I think each part of these programs within the ecosystem of college football are important for the longevity of our sport, right? Because you want as many kids playing football as possible. So they have opportunities from high school. They have opportunities from JUCO. If they go Division III and they want to jump up to a higher level, they can, so on and so forth. And that's, I think that's the big part, is that, and that's what we're trying to push, is that all of these parts of the ecosystem of football are important in helping people to understand that, because parents, you probably deal with parents sometimes you don't, but parents don't always understand that all these parts of the ecosystem are really, really important. Like, if you don't get it done as far as get an opportunity at a high school, there is JUCO as an opportunity. There is prep school as an opportunity. It's important to understand those different types of things. Talk about, kind of my last question is, on the recruiting road, how do you kind of talk to kids about the opportunity that JUCO presents?
I think, it's all about the particular kid that you want, because like you got some kids that are at high school that have to come to JUCO because that's their only outlet, and then you deal with other avenues of kids that are coming from Division I school that have been kicked out for whatever the reason. Then you have some kids that are at Division I FCS level and saying, hey, I want to be at Division I, so let me come back and prove myself that I'm at I'm a FBS caliber kid. And you have kids that do that at D2. So, kind of my thing and my pitch is individual based, depending on what that kid wants when he comes to us. But ultimately, my goal, like I said, and I'm always recruiting the student athlete that wants to play at the SEC level. Now, obviously, am I going to always get that type kid?
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's the type of talent that I'm going after and mindset, because we're trying to win championship. I'm in a championship program, so that's our number one goal, is to win championship. So those are kind of the caliber kids that I'm going after, and I'm just letting them know based off track record, hey, these are the kids that I've sent. So I've been at East Mississippi for 2 years. We've sent 30 kids to 4 years, 26 to Division I. That's defensively. It's more when you add in the offensive guys. And this year, we're going to send another probably 11 or 12 on defense when it's all said and done. We have, like, the ESPN JUCO 50 dropped their top 50 yesterday, and we had 5 guys that were ranked in the top 50,
Wow. Congratulations.
So, yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of the standard and the expectation of what we go after at East Mississippi.
And what I love about that too, Coach, is that even in such a kind of me culture, right? Like, hey, I'm coming to JUCO so I can get this, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also surrounding these guys with, I'm going to get you what you want, my man, but we're also trying to win as a team, a national championship. So I love that aspect, that even in such a transfer and a me type of culture where guys just want to go and it's all about them to improve what they do personally, you're still keeping that team aspect of it in trying to win national championships. That's something I think our game is it's going away from that. And it's really unfortunate, because this is the ultimate team game. No matter what way you want to spin it, there's 11 dudes in that huddle and everybody believes something or thinks a different way. But when you're in it, it's all about us and how we can do things to win. And I just think, Coach, that's absolutely phenomenal on your part. And unfortunately, it's the rarity, but I love to see it at your level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard a Twitter from Coach Chad Huff at Marshall said the other day, and I think he said it best. Team success brings and sparks individual success. And that's kind of
goddamn, man. If we're winning, we get more opportunities and more eyes on us, fellas. Like, so shit, like, you can go one and whatever, man, and you might get an off. But like, you're gonna have more opportunities if we win more games. Like, guys, this ain't rocket science. Shit.
It's not, winning brings about it. Winning brings about success in a lot of different forms. And like I said, it's kind of our MO with our kids, because in a me culture that we're living in, you have to let, as much as possible, let them show them. And you have to show these kids. We live in a time now where you have to show these kids whatever you want them to get. The end goal is, as we would say, begin with the end in mind. Whatever that end goal is, you have to show these kids visual of the process of, hey, look, if you do this, You will get what you want, but ultimately we have to do this as a team for we all can get what we want. Because if you just are selfish and me, then you're ultimately not going to even get what you want. But if you buy into this process, that's a proven process, then we all get what we want.
There's no doubt about it, and couldn't be said any better, Coach. I can't thank you enough for coming on today. It was really, really great talking to you, getting to share the JUCO process and understanding what you guys do. It's so important. And shoot, I mean, the number of guys that you guys put out Division I wise is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So congratulations, really. Congratulations on that, and much continued success for the future, Coach.
Absolutely. And thank y'all for having me on.
Coach, no problem. Appreciate you, Coach. Anything we can ever do for you, let us know.
Same here.
All right. Have a great day, Coach.
Take care, Coach.
Bye. That was phenomenal. Cool. We'll end on that. We're back. We're back tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, DJ
tomorrow at 11. So we'll get that going too.
Get ready for some fireworks, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think we're breaking down. We will talk the evolution of the run and shoot to now. So you'll probably enjoy that yourself.
Can't wait.
We'll see. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right. Till then.